Anup, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for making the time to be here. Please introduce yourself to the BIS Connect parents.
Thanks, Bindu. Thanks for having me, and thanks for doing this, you guys. I mean, I think this is such a good thing you guys are doing. My name is Anup Pai, for everybody that has not heard my name yet. I am a small town guy, grew up in Udupi, still have roots there, and grew up to travel the world and enjoying every bit of it. Just that. I mean, it's such a wonderful time and to be alive. So yeah, small town guy traveling the world. That's me.
That's really nice to know. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Udupi?
So, what was the question, Bindu?
I said, why don't you tell us something a little bit about Udupi and your childhood and how your childhood was?
So, Udupi is a temple town, and I, in my childhood, worked in a shop in the Udupi Shri Krishna Temple Square. It's amazing to do that during summers, and get to earn a little money in the summers as pocket money, buy some shoes for the rainy season that will come up immediately after. So it's just amazing growing up in a small town, and back then we could just cycle kilometers and kilometers. Our parents never cared, or I guess it was that kind of a time, right? I mean, we just roamed freely and did what we did. I wish that for every child, I guess.
Yeah, I wish we could do that in a city. Unfortunately, I think those are days that perhaps will never come back, and it's quite the loss.
Not just in the city. I mean, I just came back from Himachal Pradesh, a small village. Parenting has changed quite a bit. I mean, since our parents' generations, I guess.
For sure. What do you do professionally? What inspired you to pursue your current profession?
So look, I mean, people from my generation, I don't think we thought too much about a career. We just took the first job that came along. So I got selected in a bank. So I've been with the banks throughout. And yeah, I mean, I've just loved the work. I guess having a surname Pai has, I guess, ascribes certain DNA to me. I mean, what I do for a living, I mean, I build technology for banks and financial institutions to help money move faster. It's been 25 years and money is moving a lot faster these days.
So did anything inspire you to pursue this, or was it just life that happened?
It's just serendipity. I mean, most of my life is serendipity. I mean, it's all, everything.
Cool. What drives you through tough times?
I don't see the tough times. I mean, I don't think anything is tough at all. I mean, it's just another experience that you have to go through. From that perspective, when you look at things from that perspective, as this too shall pass, and you just work through day in day out and enjoy what you do, right? I mean, tough times will be there. Enjoy the experience. I mean, I run long distance as well, and for a runner, the pain's part of the experience. So I guess, yeah, I mean, life's like that. You just need to keep waking up and hitting the challenges.
I guess it does depend which half of the glass you're looking at, right? If it's half empty or half full.
It's always half. It's always half full. I mean, it's always water.
It's always water. I mean, that's true too.
Yeah.
If moods choose music, what moods drive your music choices?
I don't choose music. People around me choose the music, and I groove to whatever it is played. I mean, I just like whatever. Music doesn't. I don't choose the music. I mean, I always let the other people in with me to choose the music. I like all kinds of music. So, and luckily I have friends and my family who like good music. They play good music. So happy recipient.
That's quite unusual, because I think most people have a viewpoint about the kind of music they like or don't like. For instance, I don't think I like jazz at all, and I've tried to make myself like it. But people would die for jazz of any kind. So it's odd that you say, and unusual that you say that you will groove to any kind of music.
Yeah, I mean, that's true about a lot of things. I mean, it's like take it as it comes is a life philosophy, I guess.
Nice.
You can. I mean, how much control do you have? I mean, why do you seek control? I mean, all of those are, I guess, midlife crisis questions I'm going through. Not crisis, midlife questions.
uh, what do you think is unique about the cultural fabric of Bangalore?
Bangalore. I got here in '96. I think it's the education here. I mean, I think in general, I think people are a little bit more cultured. I mean, more educated, focused. And one of the key characteristics is till about the mid '90s, the goal of every Bangalorean was Swantamane Bajaj scooter. They wanted a own house and a Bajaj scooter. Things have changed drastically since then after IT and all of the things that have gone. But otherwise, I think Bangalore, the pubs. I mean, I came here in the mid '90s, like I said, the pubs, picos, music. Yeah. I mean, it's the best city in India for sure, right? Uh,
I would have to agree. I'm completely partial. It's home time, so
yeah.
you will not get me to go against what you've just said. But particularly if you had to pick out top three things, what would you say would be something that sets the city apart?
The weather, number one. The people are getting, like any other place these days. I mean, it's okay, but at least this part of town where we live, our neighborhood. I mean, it's still a little intellectual compared to. I mean, let's just contrast Bombay and Delhi versus Bangalore. I love Bombay. The people in Bombay better than the people in Bangalore in general. I mean, Delhi though anyway ruled out. I mean, the weather and the people can't really stand it. The third thing, people in Bangalore are good. Third thing would be like the lakes. I would like to say, I mean, but now it's all gone. Real estate has eaten it up. I,
But the lakes,
yeah, I mean,
that would probably be a good one. We were a city of lakes at one point, apparently.
it was, but now I guess that's not there. But yeah, I mean, I think the music, the people, the trees, at least in the Cubbon Park area, I mean, the trees are vanishing as well with metro and everything. But yeah, overall, I would not trade. I mean, if I have to live in India, Bangalore would be the city. I mean, I think that Maika and Madhvi would also vouch for. I mean, Bangalore is the city to live in.
Agreed.
Weather is the number one choice, number one reason.
Agreed. Moving on, if you could have a conversation with any historical figure, who would that be and why?
Historical.
Mm-hmm.
I think the kind of work I'm doing these days, Gandhi, I study a lot of Gandhi's writings. So I guess a conversation with him would be pretty cool. I mean, he's definitely a man with some really good thoughts yeah. So it would be Gandhi, I would think. I mean, and I know it sounds a little cliched, but unfortunately, that's the kind of reading I'm doing these days.
What about him inspires you, or attracts you, or challenges you?
I think so he wrote between 1909 and 1946. He wrote many things, and it was all around Swaraj. So he started with Hind Swaraj, which is more a nationalistic approach to Swaraj. To 1946, he wrote Gram Swaraj, which is more a village. How can a community become a self-sufficient community? And he wrote about it, right? the patience and the evolution in his thought, to to think about, nation is still a very abstract construct, and bringing that concept of self-reliance and Swaraj to a village or a community, and then the whole period through which he ran that non-violent kind of resistance to the colonial oppression. I guess the patience and in general the thoughts. I mean, the writing's pretty strong. I mean, he's got some very clear ideas of how this future should be, and I use a lot of those writings in what I call digital Swaraj, which is where that's my current work that I'm doing. Yeah, I mean, Gandhi would definitely be cool to talk to.
I would agree. I think he was a maverick for his time. Who would have thought
Totally.
of non-violence, of all the things, right? In a completely violent situation. He would fit right in, actually, if you ask me, in terms of BIS, and the non-violent movement would be a very good movement right about now. The next thing that I would like to ask is, what have you learned from success and what have you learned from failure?
Life's a learning. And look, I mean, failure, success are all labels that you put to few past events. So I think I mean, in general, I think like I said about the philosophy, and obviously I've not reached here. I mean, I was very different when I was a young guy. Take it as it comes. Any preconceived notions on how things should be. Just do your best. I mean, obviously you have your values and you have your your biases, right? That you bring to a particular situation. And obviously all of that is based on those experiences and learnings that you carry. Sometimes you want to also question what you think you know, right? I mean, learnings are not really set in stone. You keep looking to question your worldview, and learn from new people. I mean, learn from people in general. I mean, I think success and failures, when you think about that, and it kind of gives a sort of a blinkered vision. I mean, because you might have just been lucky, I mean, and been successful, right? Or you might have been extremely unlucky and been unsuccessful. You can't take that, just those experiences, and crystallize that into learnings. Is my current position. I might become a very Kadus Buddha when I get older, but as of now, this is where this is how I lead my life as of now. I mean, limbs are still working and we're still good to go types.
Interesting. So what you're saying is it's not really about the success or the failure, but about the learning that comes out of both of those situations.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Always. I mean, what we've been going through the last few months is also major learning. I mean, who would have thought that you have to put up such a fight to pay fees and keep the school or keep going to the school. I mean, this is like unprecedented learning. I mean, look, I mean, we could have all just walked away from this. I reached out to a friend of mine who's an ex-BIS parent. I thought he was still there. And he said, "Oh, I bailed long ago. I thought you would also bail." So I said, "No."
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think this is just those set of things, right? I mean, it's a new situation. I mean, we chose to stand here and fight for what's right, and hopefully that's. I mean, I did it purely because, my daughter, I mean, you can't just walk away. What kind of an experience, I mean, what kind of experience would you give to her that we just walk away from bad people, right?
Correct.
So, yeah, I mean, I think it's also about, taking those actions, right? I mean, you can have the learnings, but if you don't convert that into actions, then it's useless. right? You have a point of view and you don't stand up for that point of view, then it's useless, right? So that's where we that yeah. So hopefully, I actually forget it. I mean, I don't even know how things will turn out, but we still do what we do. We have to. I mean, I stand for what's right. I mean, I have a right to demand a good school. I mean, and forget the fact that we're paying and all of that. I mean, that's not relevant here. But we cannot be just shoved aside and and made to go to some other school, right? I mean, it's not done.
I couldn't agree more, because you have to fight the good fight, or else, like you said, how do we explain it at all to our kids? So, keeping with the BIS situation, what about BIS is still inspirational?
So my experience with school is very limited. Uh, Other than these times, I mean, I was there during the admission or before the admission, and I just love the concept of a parent-run school. I mean, parent-owned school. Sorry, so parent-owned school. Imagine the foresight with which these Americans or whoever, I mean, Americans, I'm told, did it. The foresight to be able to create infrastructure which is community owned, community governed, and a set of rules to be able to run this, create wealth and create value for future generations of parents that are not met. It's quite an astounding thing, which I guess, I mean, whoever set up these schools, and I believe there's one more like this in India or whatever. But the concept really, when I heard about it, I didn't hear about it when my daughter joined school. Then it was simply a beautiful school. I mean, that Francesca told us, I mean, actually showed us a football team in every grade and a music band in every grade. I was like, wow, this is great. This is great, right? I mean, but when I found out it was a parent-owned school, the trust and everything, I just, you know, supported the whole thing that happened in 2019, right? I mean, uh, yeah,
Right.
should we have not done it? I've written about it on Twitter. I mean, so maybe parents are not meant to be part of the governance of a school. I mean, maybe we can never be unbiased, right? I mean, yeah, I mean, tough questions we are having to deal with. Yeah.
True. But sometimes doing something different and brave sometimes may come with pain, but conceptually, it still feels like we would perhaps be the people most invested in this whole idea of the school running well. So, conceptually, it ought to work.
Actually, yes. I mean, who else other than the parents would want the school to run well? I mean, not a, I mean, yes, a head of school can play the role of running it, but are the wishes of the collective group of parents to create the right atmosphere for all the kids would, I think, be very strong. I mean, therefore, conceptually, it's great. I mean, from an implementation perspective, I think unfortunately, we're in Bangalore, real estate, and all of that business, and we're going through a very, very dark, I mean, global economic times. There's greed and all of that. I mean, we see it on a daily basis in the business world. I mean, there's so much greed, so much fraud, so much everything going on. It's and with very weak kind of a management. Protect the assets of the school. I'm sure it will catch the eyes of enough and more nefarious elements. I know enough of that element to, I mean, for it to catch the fancy of somebody, right? Or many somebodies. So, yeah. Uh, but the parent-owned school and parent-governed school, if you get it right, I think it can be beautiful.
I agree. I hope that we finally get it right. I think we've been trying hard for a couple of years. Let's hope that this year is the year when we actually magically get this right, or we just put processes and get it magically right. The next question that I'd like to ask you is, what life-changing event in the past has shaped your today?
life changes on a regular basis. But let me. So if you go back in time, I think a major decision. I mean, I just moved to Australia early in my life. A lucky break got me to Australia, in beautiful country, good money and all of that. And typical path would be to just settle down in Australia, but then I just chucked all that and went off on a whim to Eastern Europe, lived there. And that actually was great. I mean, I knew nobody there. I didn't know the language. And in 3 winters, I was pretty much a local. I mean, yeah, so those are, and then from there, it's been one great. I mean, most of it. I mean, I mean, take it as it comes. All of that, I think, is the foundation for that was laid in those cold winters in Poland. Yeah, so it was pretty life changing going there.
That's a unique one that you go from Australia to Eastern Europe. That's a unique one.
Yeah, I mean, and quitting a job with a tier one bank to go to some godforsaken small town in Poland with a small bank. But I got to work with the senior management there in ANZ. I was like back at the very bottom, right? So these are choices you made. I mean, serendipity, like I said, and it was pretty life changing.
Fantastic. What is the one thing about you that most people don't know, but you wish that they did?
I don't wish. I mean, if people don't know they know anything about me, they should not know it. I mean, there's a reason they should not know it. But yeah, I mean, there's in truth. I mean, there's. I mean, my life is an open book. Everybody knows everything. Wink, wink. But yeah, I mean, so. I guess since I'm contesting for an election now. I mean, my first. I think I want people in BIS to know that I've never voted in my entire life. Right, I'm 48 years old and 49, and I've never cast my vote, even though I'm a avid politics and democracy follower. I've been following US elections from year 2000, keenly following. I mean, very keenly following, and Indian politics and Karnataka politics and all of that. But somehow I've been on the side to. I've actually campaigned for Nota, but I've never voted. That's that's a fact about me.
Right. Do you want to tell us why you decided not to vote, despite, unless it's personal, despite actually being politically so involved?
So, I mean, my experience with politics in general leads me to believe that unless we stand for election, we meaning we, the rest, I mean, the civil society, actually stand for election, and I feel in the next few years I'll stand for corporator in Bangalore so maybe, right. Once, so then it's all the same. I mean, you're voting for A, B, or C party. They behave exactly the same. They've got the same message. I mean, the whole patriarchal, the whole chummy set of behavior, and I've seen it at close quarters. I mean, I can't get myself to waste my time and go and cast a vote for one of these guys. I mean, and yes, I understand there are some great candidates in the mix, and they never get the support of common people because votes get bought and sold. And when I campaigned for Nota, I was given an offer to buy a vote for 3,000. Vote for Nota. Buy a Nota vote for $3,000, right?
Wow,
That's
a new one.
Each vote. Right? So it's just it's a protest by me that I will not vote. I've got a thing saying I voted in the EGM and the AGM in BIS. I'm talking about voting in legislative or whatever elections. I will at some point in time break it. I'll go and vote, and it'll be when either I'm standing or somebody I really like or want to win is standing for election. Change is coming, I guess, in politics as well in India. Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, as of now, it's been a protest. I mean, I've not for a bunch of time I was traveling, but otherwise, it's even if I'm there, even if I'm following the election, I will not turn up to vote.
That's
And I tell
another.
people.
Sorry.
I tell people that I've not voted, and I hear the same thing saying unless people like you change, this society is not going to change. Yeah, yada yada types. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there are people on both sides of this argument. I know people who've been on the same side as you and also vociferously on the other side, saying that unless you vote, you can't change. And the opposite side saying if you vote, it still doesn't change. So why vote? So it's an interesting conundrum to work with in India.
Actually, just on this, my neighbor, I mean, he's gone now. Was the ex chief secretary, back when I was like just about 15 years ago, and I told him, look, I want to go and vote for some independent candidate. So he looked at me and saying, don't waste your time. Either you vote for BJP or Congress, or don't vote at all. Right? I mean, what's the point? Anyway?
You just wasting your vote. Would be what they
wasting your time and your vote. I said, okay, great.
So now that we've discussed one controversial topic, let's pivot to another one. What are your thoughts on the concept of women seeking permission, whether in personal or professional contexts? Please explain.
Permission? From who?
Yes.
For what?
Permission. Seeking permission.
Look, I mean, women, men. In my book, there are inequalities that exist in society and so on. So I work a lot with women. I mean, or working with women entrepreneurs or women getting self-employed. And I think it's a matter of a mindset. I mean, I think seeking permission. Entrepreneurship is about not seeking permission, doing things on your own, for your own, by your own purpose that you're doing these actions. Right? I mean, I don't believe that women should ask for permission from somebody. That was in the days of where there was slavery or whatever, parda system maybe. I think somehow we need to get more money in the hands of women that are seeking permission from whoever to do whatever, and they need to find their own income source. And I've always found that once that happens, the confidence and the ability to make one's own choices improves. Entrepreneurship is a great way. I'm just coming back from Dharamshala area where I work with a self-help group. We've set up a self-help group with a bunch of women in our village. It's amazing the change that has happened over the last 4 years. I mean, these women are far more confident. They become heads of their family now. I mean, it's wonderful. I mean, the simple act of finding community and creating value creating value and receiving money or some sort of an income is amazing. I mean, I think I don't know the context of why this question was asked here, but I mean, you can get me started talking about this for long time, so I won't get into it.
All of us can spend some time on this one. The next question that I'd like to ask is, what is the best piece of advice that you've ever received, and how has it influenced you?
So when I was in this is early days. I mean, so advice influence has happened early, and from there it's just been smooth sailing. So there was a senior of mine. I mean, guy was about 5-10 years older than me, a New Zealander guy. So I used to be back then very, very tech focused. I mean, I used to say, hey, guys, I mean, new technology is coming and we need to be on that cutting edge and this and that and all of that. So this guy one day sits me down and says, hey, technology will keep coming. Every couple of years, there'll be new technologies. Understand, the applications. I mean, understand the industry. I mean, we were in banking. So, application of, I mean, how does the industry change? I mean, understanding the domain if it at all, right? I mean, and that's when I stuck to banking. Otherwise, I would have just maybe joined another services company and gone from healthcare to banking to whatever. But sticking to one thing and sticking to this whole global banking situation, I think has been a sort of life changing. I mean, it took me to Poland because I immediately decided that when I got the offer to work with the senior management of a small bank, transform it in rural Poland, I mean, it was just jumped at it. So, yeah, I mean, it was great advice by Kevin McAllister. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, it's sometimes odd that some random thing that somebody says, which they probably don't realize, tends to have a profound effect on the person at the receiving end.
I met Kevin recently. I went and met him in Australia again and told him this, and he was like pleased.
What is your favorite way to unwind or relax after a long day?
These days, I think it's Netflix. So yeah, just get back home and have dinner, Netflix, Madhvi, me, and Mike. I mean, yeah, that's when. I don't have many long days actually. I don't work that hard, so yeah. I mean, I have a pretty easy job. I am the CEO, and people do what I say, and I've found a great team. So I don't really have really long days. So it's mostly Netflix at the end of the evening, I guess.
That's the first time I think I've heard a CEO say that it's a pretty easy job.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a really good team. I've really got people. I mean, there are people in my team who tell me, Anup, just let it be. I mean, I will take care of it. So and I just completely and just say you do your thing, which is basically thinking about the next big thing, and they do the. That way, I'm super blessed. I mean, it's actually a larger thing as well. I feel that I'm so lucky. I mean, it's it's nice being that way. I can take a lunch break. I can go, have lunch out. Yeah, it's pretty easy.
I think you hit the nail on the head with super blessed. I think to have teams that are that hardworking, and I'm sure you put all the processes in place, that is really something that a lot of people perhaps don't have, and then it makes life that much harder.
More than processes, Bindu, I think it's more about human trust and connect, right? I mean, we are a startup, so there is not really much process, but there's so much trust that we have. We might be, I mean, we don't need to communicate much. We just know. I mean, these are people that we know each other for quite well for a long time. So it's just mostly highly aligned, trust-based decisions where we take. There's no second guessing. I think it's all about that in the end. I mean, I think it's just human relationships and how well you are able to understand each other, right? I mean, and there'll be some days. I mean, that maybe I have to work because one of my colleagues has to take a week off or 2 weeks off or whatever. I mean, these are things that we do as humans, right? I mean, it's just that process is more a thing that has come because of corporate culture. But I am a big believer in spending time to make human relationships and human connections. I mean, and real ones, which then transcends process and everything. I mean, you don't need to have a process if you have a group of people that really has each other's back, right?
Well, I certainly know that one place that needs a lot of that right now. I hope if you do get into the board, that you would actually focus on making sure that those relationships started working along with the processes. And I think that would be kind of sort of magic to get those two things in place, the people and the processes. Then I think you can take longer lunch breaks then.
Absolutely. So, I mean, what you're doing, right? I mean, this is finally at the end of the day. I mean, all of us are humans with a bag of emotions. I mean, whatever, right? I mean, if we really take some time to get to know each other, our motivations, our journeys and backgrounds and so on, and just take a little interest and put yourself in the other person's shoes, and just essentially a little of that, little more love towards the other persons around you. Little more. I mean, you don't need to really go out of your way. A little bit more love would just change the dynamic of the relationship. I mean, it's that simple, really. I mean, today we feel that we are entitled to our opinion and we are right and somebody else is wrong. It's just sometimes there needs to be a lot more give. Sometimes you need to be staunch, but you can always argue this or go through this in a friendly manner. I mean, even if you are having a heated discussion, you know that you're going to be together again. It's not like that whole katti kind of situation. Right? I mean, yeah, you can have a nice heated argument, but you always know that you're together, right? So I think it's a human element that I think is needs to be brought in. I mean, yeah, each one of us need to be heard, feel seen, and things will start moving.
Yeah, I think with the advent of social media, I think it's becoming harder and harder, and I think we're seeing the effects of it. Like I said, I hope if you get into the board, you would actually implement those aspects of humanity and bring it back to our school and make all those changes. The next thing I would like to ask you is, can you describe a challenging obstacle that you faced and how you overcame it?
So, I mean, one thing about me is uh, so I really think I'm having a charmed life. Okay, I mean, even though, I mean, it's not. I mean, obviously there are challenges. I mean, in my previous startup, after raising tons of money, we burnt it all, and then we had to lay off people and all of that. I mean, but I think I have this general. I mean, I just forget. I mean, I just forget the the sad, bad, challenging things that life has thrown so far, and therefore, I guess it's a charmed life. Right? So I think it's just the feeling of कुछ नहीं है what challenges देखा जाएगा.
So going back to our glass half full analogy again, to a lighter topic now, what is there a particular book or movie that had a significant impact on your life?
Significant impact. I'm from the Matrix generation. I mean, I love that movie. I fucking watch it anytime.
All right. What are your goals or aspirations for the future, both personally and professionally?
So my personal life and my professional life are pretty much, intertwined. I mean, insofar as what I want from me as a human being is the same thing that what my business or my companies or my professional life is chasing. I mean, the whole goal is to bring trust back as the driving force of our economy and society. Whereas today it's fear and greed driving society and the economy, thanks to many policies. I won't get into that right now. The biggest goal is to bring trust and maybe love back as some of the driving forces of our economy and therefore society. And there's a series of things that we are trying to do. And I think that mostly comes down to human psychology and maybe connect to the spiritual element. So that's a goal that I started professionally about 5, 6 years ago. It was me and my friend and colleague from my previous company. We were just talking about what will life be for. He's got a 15-year-old daughter now, 16 maybe, and I've got a 12. So we were just like talking about how life will be for our daughters when they are our age, the 40s, right? And it just like I mean, just talking through it, it kind of scared the shit out of us, right? I mean, imagine the way things are going. Forget the traffic and all that, but the climate and global wars, the instabilities, and all that. So then we started thinking more about what are the things that need to happen now. Obviously, humankind is smart enough. I don't think we are going to self-destruct. Then this whole concept of decentralization and communities and all of that started forming. And post-COVID, I think we've taken it to the next level. COVID actually, the lockdowns especially gave us a template potentially for how communities can help each other and be a little bit more caring. I feel it was a learning. I mean, maybe it was a training experience. So yeah, I mean, it's the only goal right now is do things. I mean, obviously, build businesses that are focusing on creating community wealth, creating using digital tools to be able to organize people to come together and do good things together. So that's primarily, and obviously, making money is part of what communities do together, creating wealth together. So that's the goals that we have, utopian sort of goals. Let's see.
I think in a dystopian world, having utopian goals is perhaps the best antidote. So I do wish you all the very best in your endeavors, and I do hope you succeed.
Thank you.
In most problematic situations, would you make your decisions and find solutions based on black, white, or gray?
There is no black or white. I mean, that's my fundamental. I mean, obviously, right? And there's no black or white. I mean, there's always like shades of gray, and I'm not a great judge, right? So I can only get conversation going for people to reach their own conclusions, but I don't have the personality to tell people ki tum galat ho and all of that. I mean, it's not my style, right? To tell other people that whatever, right? So the world's full of grays, and it's murky enough for you yourself, right? So I don't like or at least if I mean, and therefore when I wrote my thing as well, I said I don't want. I mean, I can't be in any one of the executive positions, be it a chairman, treasurer, or secretary, and all of that. That takes some specific doing. But I mean, I think I'm good at being a peacemaker. I mean, being a sort of get people to see each other's sides by using word and things like that. I mean, it's mostly that, right? I mean, so world's full of gray, and I'm nobody to judge. I mean, people need to find their own ways to reach their conclusions, and I can help them.
Nice, very nice. You've touched upon this in bits and pieces through our conversation, but have you done any voluntary work? And what was your reason for volunteering?
So it's not volunteer work per se. I mean, I've worked with incubate. So it's I mean, one thing that I'm clear about is that this pure non-profit or goodness of heart kind of thing can come maybe later in life. But as of now, I want to do something with a purpose, with a change motive in mind. But I also want it to be meaningful for everybody involved, including the people involved. They need to make money, and if they make money, obviously, the whole system is wealthier than it was earlier. Because I mean that this thinking comes primarily from watching years of this NGO activity or whatever going on, because it's purely right now most of the time and energy is going asking for donations, right? So why can't these kind of entities generate their own cash to be able to sustain themselves and be self-sufficient? So one of the key things in this entire thesis of bringing trust and love back as a driving force of the economy is about the feminine and the women power being central to the functioning of the economy. And the women participation in our economy is like abysmal. I mean, it's lower than most developing countries as well. And then there's a bunch of reasons, especially in North India, that this results in. So the work that I do is primarily building for-profit business models that women that have never ever had an income. I mean, they do a lot of work, but they never generated income for themselves. How can they generate income? So, for example, the self-help group that we work with, they make some beautiful candles. We did a workshop with them yesterday where they learned how to make face creams. So these guys, they have all these ingredients around them. They've got some wonderful aromatics and all of that around them. So how do they? And they know how to, cooking and mixing things and making that. The recipes, following recipes, and all that comes really, really naturally, right? So why can't they make some, great, handcrafted beauty products, right? And we position. I mean, once the product comes out, we go through several lines. We price it pretty well. I mean, and these guys make good money. So I think that's the. Hopefully, have more of these happening. But overall, how can we, you know, get more women entrepreneurs earning and giving employment to others is the goal, I guess.
Oh, that's truly meaningful work. So the utopian practical banker doing social work.
It's for-profit social impact work. So it's like the social impact company or entity needs to earn its own money as well. So how do we, create a fintech plus a little good marketing, the products that we're making in that small village, are now in the executive suites of the Taj Palace Hotel in Delhi. It's only in the executive suites, not in the other. So these are the kind of products that are made, and the quality that we bring in through interventions, right? I mean, a few days that a nice artist spends in the village, the women really, their confidence and their skill level goes up, by notches, right? So it's amazing to see the cross-pollination that goes on.
Fabulous. That's fabulous work. To our last two questions and lighter ones, are there any hobbies or interests that you're passionate about?
I'm not cultivated a hobby per se. But yeah, I take a deep interest in politics and in general political science. I'm like a student of human psychology. Spirituality has become a sort of a hobby now. It's a bunch of different things in that dimension of understanding beyond the understandable, trying to understand beyond the understandable.
Right. Finally, what do you like to do for fun?
I run in the sun. And that's it. Once it is nice and sunny, you go out for a run. So that's fun.
Any last words that you have to the listening parent group?
So, look, I think we are all well-meaning, educated, well-meaning, well-intentioned, full of energy, full of emotion. I mean, we really want this deeply, right? Something that is holding us together. I think let's just cut the emotion a little bit. I know we're feeling very, very frustrated. We've gone through the range of emotions as well. I mean, starting with let's leave to let's not leave, let's do this, let's do that, the whole thing. And I think we're a little too close to this right now. We should just let go and just elect some good people. I mean, and whoever gets elected, I think, let's see. I mean, let's just trust them to do a good job. And then we've got one more election coming up, and we've got so many tools now to be able to intervene. We're thinking about BISPA and other committees and everything. I think let's just chill out, right? I mean, let's just enjoy a good AGM. There's MadFest coming up, a good summer break. Take a would be my advice, right? I mean, we've just gone too deep into this. I think anyway.
I agree. Anup, thank you so much for your time. It was so nice to be able to get to know you a little bit, the person behind the candidate. So thank you for your time and all the very best.
Thank you so much, Bindu, and thanks for organizing this.
You're
Talk
welcome.
to you soon.
Take care.
Bye. Good night.
Night.